Everything here at Elwood is really vintage inspired. I really wanted to give you like a one-on-one crash course of like what my mind is going through when I'm at the vintage stores. Okay, I'm kind of just gonna maybe like start off like this, right? What's going on, everyone? We travel around so much with you guys in meetings and everything like that, and I really want like a face-to-face with something that's so important to myself, and that is vintage. Everything here at Elwood is really vintage inspired and derived from vintage pieces most of the time. I really wanted to give you like a one-on-one crash course of like what my mind is going through when I'm at the vintage stores. We were out there yesterday and we got a bunch of shit. So I really want to walk through probably like 10 pieces, but really show you guys exactly like why I'm buying this piece and what I'm going to do with this piece to help me get to this piece that you see on our website. When I walk into a vintage store, my first thought is silhouette. That's like always the most important thing to me. I think that's one of the hardest things in design is to like reinvent a silhouette. I think like that's my first train of thought walking in. Can I find new silhouettes that I haven't seen that I can work with my team and my design team to manipulate? Then number two is color. I think we can see inspiration of other brands and other people and other things, but sometimes with being a vintage inspired brand and wanting the colors to be cut and look vintage from the get-go, from when I give them to you guys so they don't have to wear down over time, it is really good finding some of these vintage pieces where, like, for example, this red did not start off this red. This red is over the years of what it's come down to, but I want to create a piece for you guys where you're getting this red right off the bat. You're getting this like almost fatigued off-white yellow kind of vibe like right off the bat. And these help us be able to send this to the factory to then say, hey, whatever, here's our Pantone, cut it in half, cut it by 25%, cut it by 80% to try and get us to a space where the garment that you guys end up getting feels vintage inspired. The last thing that I look for when I'm in these stores is fabric. And this is one that I pulled. I'll show you more in a little bit, but like this kind of like wax canvas fabric. Will I do this body? No. But can we put this fabric into some sort of cool windbreaker and or like raincoat potentially for this Elwood Estate thing that we're doing at the end of this year? So again, like to me, the body's cool. It's not something I'd probably make, but the fabric and the little, just like little details, like the draw cords and how they're waxy to match like this waxy canvas feeling. I think like to me, that's what stands out in a piece like this. So silhouette, color, fabric, that's really what I'm looking for. I love it. I love going and shopping. This is just one bag of many that we got yesterday. Before we get into like product, there's like a couple ways to like thrift. There's one way of like a curated vintage store that someone like myself at Elwood gives to you guys on Elwood Vintage, or like going down to your Goodwill and these other places and just knowing the digging is going to be. You will be there. I would bring headphones and some fucking snacks because you will be there digging for ages. But you may find like some 5 or 6 really cool pieces that also aren't $80, $90, $100. They're $6 or $7 or $8. So this is from like one of our rag houses. I probably went through 1,000 garments to find, I don't know, there's probably 80 in here or something along those lines. Then something like this or this is from just like a curated store that I walked into that someone else went and found this piece, but I fell in love with the fit and the fabric and the look of it, and I want to recreate something like this for Elwood Estate that you will see in future vlogs and stuff, and it's gonna be a really fun collection. So that is kind of the difference. And like I said, if you don't have one of these like curated stores in your small town or wherever you are, we sell vintage. We don't do it much, but there are great online like curated stores for you guys to kind of thrift at. But yeah, that's kind of the two options. So that's the theory around my vintage shopping and my vintage inspiration shopping. We're gonna go next door. I'm gonna lay all the pieces out, these 10 that I really wanna go over with you guys, and like really walk you through why that piece, I bought it and why it's back in the office and how we can recreate it and how we can use old to create new. Come along. These are my favorite pieces that I thrifted yesterday and the day before. So I really want to just go through piece by piece with you guys of like why I picked it, what my plans are, if it's for silhouette, if it's for fit, if it's for fabric, if it's for color, and kind of just like really like get into it with you guys exactly what I am looking for. So I hope you guys enjoy. All right, the first piece is this vintage Russell kind of like Henley button up. I think like a lot of us are very inspired by like the fit of Russell, what it used to be, and kind of we're all trying to emulate some things that they have done. So shout out to Russell. But I think like the biggest thing for me, aside from the fit, because we have kind of our established bodies that this fit would be in. But my favorite part about this is like the Henley and how detailed it is with like 3 buttons. The wear obviously like helps bring the grit and the character to this garment, so we have to understand that. And to achieve some of that around here will be this rigorous wash we'll put it through. I think like this was kind of like a cool little detail where they kind of like double lined the collar. But all in all, this garment was really for like details rather than the fit or fabric, really the details that go into that Henley crew neck. When I look at that, that's kind of what I'm seeing. This next piece is this really cool old vintage hockey jersey. What I love about this is the fabric. It's almost like a wool PK versus like a mesh fabric that are normally on our hockey jerseys. So I thought for estate is kind of like street formal. So adding this to the collection, this to me is really for fabric and like construction. I really want to play with the lacing detail that all the hockey teams used to have. So this one's really for fabric and construction. Fit, we have our hockey jersey that we love, so we're gonna stick to that fit. Next is this camo short. I brought this in, I didn't source this yesterday. This has kind of been in our office, but I wanted to bring this to you to show you what we created out of it. So this is just like a normal military pant that was God knows when, but it's like a true military pant, true military fabric, rib stop. And the vision was we cut these to make them into shorts. So the vision is to like make these baggier camo shorts. Funny enough, the shorts I'm wearing was what we created off of this. Obviously, we opened it up, made it baggier, put the pleats in here, but this was the starting point. So I think that's really cool for you guys to see. This is all inspiration, and then we put our little spin on these styles to make them ours. So as you can see, these are a lot wider and bubblier, and we added these pleats versus these are very straight, a little longer, and not as wide. So this was just the overall inspo of what we sent out there and wanted to recreate, and this is what they've come back with. These aren't fit approved or anything like that, so this is one of our first samples, but I thought it was cool to show you. Starts there, kind of ends here. The next piece is this knit crew neck. Why I got this is for the fabric. I want to send this out and have them kind of recreate this blend and how they knitted all this together. I think the body's obviously like a little small for what we would want to do, but the fabric has this like great like give to it, and I really want to kind of create something like this because we don't want it to be like an oversized sweater. We want it to somewhat be a little more fitted and cropped. Still like bubbly shape that you guys know from us, but a little more cropped. But with that said, I love this fabric, so this is really just based on fabric. Color is actually really good too, but when I saw this was really meant to just be for fabric. So these pants, these old, very old military pants, I think they're German, to be honest. I love this fabric. So it's like a waxed canvas almost, or like a waxed twill, but I really love the wash that you can see on it, like these little bits of like highs and lows. That's all from wear. How we can recreate that is like a mineral wash that we would throw on a garment like this. So I just love the structure of the fabric, and then to try and recreate the vintage wear and tear, we'd probably throw some sort of mineral wash on it. But yeah, that's what this silhouette is for. Envisioning this fabric in almost like a straight leg pant or a little baggier pant with none of the pockets in the detailing, but then this wash, just this very everyday wearable kind of thing. Next is this really rad denim, almost mechanic jacket looking thing. I love this for silhouette. The detailing's pretty cool, like having this like trucker jacket pocket mixed with this silhouette was pretty interesting. The button at the bottom's cool. I thought like this chain stitch or this embroidery was pretty fun, but overall like the fabric, again, it's so washed down because it's so old. With that said, we can recreate that by a heavy stone wash or a heavy mineral wash and just really beating down the fabric to achieve these washes for you guys. The back, they hit it with a really cool embroidery. This is an old Gap piece, but yeah, I think this overall silhouette and garment is pretty fun. There's no like rhyme or reason for these. Some are for this estate collection coming out. Some are for early 2026, just development. When I go vintage shopping once a month or something along those lines, I'm really just like looking for like the immediate now and the future of anything. And sometimes some of these silhouettes and pieces will sit here for 3 or 4 months, and then we'll like get into the next design process or the next design cycle for the next collection, and we'll go through our vintage rack and be like, oh, like this could kind of fit in there. So this is this leather jacket. It's like a flight jacket. For estate, we're gonna have this really cool leather Letterman's jacket. Why I picked this silhouette is for the fabric. I think obviously it's like worn down leather, right? So this is my first like real chance trying to do like real leather. With that said, a lot of the stuff we have gotten back it's real leather, it's great, but it's like, it doesn't look vintage. Makes sense, because this has its wear and it has its cracks and all of that. So we're sending this out to them to just try and see if there's any certain way that they can bring us back leather that has already a little bit of like wear and tear into it. But yeah, that's what this bomber jacket is for, a flight jacket. Is just for the subtle bit of wear into it and see if the factory can do it. And I love how deep the brown is on this color. On to this guy. I loved like the construction that of the paneling on the sleeves. Not necessarily here, but I love like the balloon section of the sleeve, the underarm of the sleeve, to have this type of paneling, I thought was super cool. Again, depending on what color it would be, that's up for discussion, but I just loved that detail. So again, this was really just, we have crew necks, we sell crew necks all day. We have our favorite body that we put it in, but that type of detailing and little construction made me want to buy this boy. Okay, heading up to this jacket and pant solely for wash. Just love how this is. This is obviously worn over time. This is worn over time. But you see these like highs and lows here and these highs and lows up here. That's obviously from like sun over time. How we would do that is this stuff called PP spray, potassium spray. And depending on how much you want it, it's actually this like manual thing that they will spray onto the garment that almost gives you this white kind of sun-faded look. That's normally how people do it. Again, people in the comments, don't come at me. I'm sure there's other ways to do it, but that's kind of how we achieve it. This jersey, an old school St. Paul. I'm assuming this is Minnesota, but I could be so fucking wrong. But not necessarily for body. I just love the detailing of the yoke and how they did it. It looks like grosgrain going down the sides of the sides of the placket. That just like highlights it. This is just like an old like Custodian shirt. But what someone did is they took it, cropped it a little, put on some patches. But again, silhouette we have, which is cool. We have that inside, but I thought the cool part about it was just the wash and the look of it. If we could send this out to a factory and maybe they could wash something down to make it look as vintage as this, that was the kind of reasoning behind this silhouette. To wrap up the last couple items, this suede jacket on the ground, not silhouette. You can see we've just cut it yesterday. We're gonna do some cool suede pieces. Suede bag, suede pant. We had that suede trucker jacket that did really well. I love this suede and I love the weight of it. So that's kind of what this was for, is to kind of try and replicate this suede. They did a pretty good job on our suede trucker jacket for those that got it. So I'm hopeful. That's the biggest thing. You gotta just be hopeful with them. And if they don't do it right the first time, do not give up, because they work their ass off and they're so amazing if you have the right vendor partners and just want to make you happy. You have to remember, doing business overseas, There's a language barrier, there's a communication barrier, there's a time barrier, and it's like, it's not like you're sitting with them in their office. This is the exact thing for this color and all of this. Most of it's over email, most of it's at a different time, so don't give up on your factory partners. If they're good ones, all they want to do is see you succeed. So we love our factory partners. Into the last style, another jersey solely for the applique and how they put this on. I love how it's like stitched on like that, and then the fabric inside is almost like this like canvas. This actually seems to be like more of a felt, but in here is more of a canvas. I love this. Again, all of these like little wears and tears, we can achieve that by putting it on and then throwing it in the wash machines, and you'll get these little like stragglers and stuff that makes it feel vintage. So while we just did this jacket, Simon, my videographer, link in bio, he's single too. He just looked at me and we started, I don't know, 2 months ago, and he just looked at me, he's like, we just got 10,000 takes, which means, and I didn't know what that fucking means, it means he started and stopped his camera 10,000 times for all this, not just this, just over time, so pretty cool. So that's really it. That's kind of my like ins and out of like what I look for per garment when I'm vintage shopping. And another fun little thing, we're doing, I can't explain exactly what it is, but we are doing something with Nordstrom around vintage. So I'm very excited about that. Can't tell you exactly what, when, or how, but stay tuned and we will show you kind of that process. But all in all, that's kind of like in my mind. That's kind of how I think, piece to piece. And I hope that helps you guys for those that are sourcing vintage. I'm gonna go look at some more retail places. Simon's got a date. I'm out of here. Bye.